From the PEP Radio newsroom, this is part 2 of our special report on the U.S. Supreme Court case Trump v. Cook. In this case, President Donald Trump has attempted to remove Lisa Cook from the Board of Governors from the Federal Reserve. We recorded this particular special report on January 21st, 2026, the day of the hearing. We're going to examine the case as it unfolded before the U.S. Supreme Court. We're going to review the case as it happened and was shared by the Associated Press. First, we'll hear from Chief Justice John Roberts in his own words. We'll hear from Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and we'll hear D. John Sauer, the Solicitor General of the United States, lay out why Lisa Cook needs to go now. That ended up drawing skepticism from Justice Samuel Alito. And then in turn, the other justices will share their questions and receive their feedback from D. John Sauer, Solicitor General of the United States. So first, on Wednesday at 10:15, Chief Justice John Roberts jumped in quickly, asking D. John Sauer what appeared to be a skeptical question about the claims underlying Cook's dismissal. Roberts questioned whether any issues with Cook's mortgage documents could have been a mistake rather than an attempt at fraud. The chief is among the most closely watched justices in the case, with a potentially decisive vote. At 10:21 a.m., Justice Sonia Sotomayor addressed a key issue in the case. Should the court allow Cook to stay in office while the legal system decides whether she can be fired? Because you see, she believes that the Fed's independence is key to public confidence. Since the president accepted that he cannot run the Fed, Sotomayor noted he is not harmed if Cook remains in office. Sotomayor also noted the unprecedented nature of the case. She, among the other 3 liberal justices on the court, are expected to side with Cook. Her attorneys will need to sway at least 2 conservatives in order for her to prevail. At 10:25, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, one of 6 conservatives and a Trump appointee, cited legal filings by economists asserting that there is a risk of recession if President Trump can fire Cook and take control of the Fed. D. John Sauer, the Solicitor General and the government's lawyer, said those predictions from elites should be viewed with a fairly jaundiced eye. Meanwhile, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had plenty of questions of her own. So D. John Sauer from the government laid out why Cook has to go right now. And Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson sparred with Sauer about why Cook should be removed now rather than allowed to stay as the case works its way through the court system. Sauer asserted that allowing her to stay would cause grievous, irreparable injury to the public perception to the Federal Reserve. Jackson pressed him, asking what evidence shows keeping Cook hurts the Fed's image. Even if the president was the final arbiter, this one would expect that he would do so on the basis of evidence, she said. Sauer tends to speak quickly, you see, and at one point, Chief Justice John Roberts jumped in to tell him to let Jackson finish her question before making his argument. Jackson also asked incredulously just how Cook was supposed to present her side of the case or respond to any allegations made on social media saying like she was supposed to post about it and that was an opportunity to be heard. Well, by this point, even conservative Justice Samuel Alito was getting quite skeptical of Sauer's remarks. By 10:41 a.m., Justice Samuel Alito wondered why this case should be handled in such a hurried manner. Alito asked if Cook's mortgage documents are even formally in the court's record, and Sauer said that he's not even sure. If Trump can't count on Alito's vote, it's hard to see how the government will prevail at the U.S. Supreme Court. But of course, the justices have yet to question Cook's lawyer. By 10:50 a.m., both justices, Sonia Sotomayor and Chief Justice John Roberts, expressed some sympathy with the idea that Cook's alleged mortgage fraud could reflect minor errors that don't rise to the level of a crime, at least not that of a major crime. The justices downplayed the gravity of Cook's alleged fraud. According to Roberts, I suppose we can debate that, how significant it is in a stack of papers you have to fill out when you're buying real estate, Roberts said, referring to the Trump administration's claim that Cook wrongly claimed 2 separate homes as primary residences. And that led Justice Sonia Sotomayor to say that Cook's appointment to the Fed necessitated she move from Michigan and rent out her home there. She said it reminded her of her own move to Washington, D.C. when she was named to the court just after renovating her New York apartment. At 10:59, Justice Brett Kavanaugh got his turn. He said firing Cook would start a cycle of getting rid of Fed governors anytime the White House changes political parties. Kavanaugh stressed the Fed's independence and said he's worried about search and destroy campaigns. He said that would weaken, if not shatter, the independence of the Federal Reserve. Kavanaugh worried that the president could fire Fed governors for trivial or inconsequential or old allegations that are very difficult to disprove. That, he said, could lead to a search and destroy approach. No judicial review, no process, nothing. You're done. Kavanaugh is a Trump appointee, and his vote could be decisive. He's one of several conservative voices on the court to express skepticism with the government's case against Cook so far up to this point in the hearings. Back to Amy Coney Barrett for a moment. Justice Barrett, a Trump appointee, closely questioned Sauer on why the Trump administration couldn't give Cook a chance to respond to the charges against her. It just wouldn't be that big a deal, it seems, she said. Sauer responded that it would be, quote, an intrusion on the executive branch to dictate, end quote, the procedures it should follow. And that brings us to the end of questions for Sauer. Most of the court so far to this point sounds reluctant to allow Trump to oust her from the Fed board, at least while her legal case proceeds. 4 conservative and 3 liberal justices are among those with tough questions for Sauer in his hour at the lectern. Now, Paul Clement, Cook's lawyer, gets his turn in front of the court. We'll come to that in our next segment, but first we're going to take a break for these messages from our sponsors.